Hello and welcome to the Wargame Manual. Joining me as I take a look inside another bolt action rulebook. Now this time we're looking at the campaign book for Battle of the Bulge. Now this is a lot like the theatre books that we've looked at previously. However, this is a lot more focused in its perspective. Rather than looking at an entire theatre such as the Eastern Front, the Pacific, late war Europe, this is very much more focused on a particular series of events. In this case it's the Battle of the Bulge, the events around the German offensive of towards the end of 1944 and very early 1945. So let's open this book up and take a look at the contents inside. Now this book is absolutely chock full of new units and new rules. And first of all, we have the rifle grenade adapters, which are basically little mini mortars you can give to your US, Free French, British and German infantry squads and allow you to fire small high explosive rounds and also smoke as well. We also have some brand new units in the form of some non-combatant units, which these are mainly used for scenarios and not so much an actual new unit you could use in your other platoons. We also have some intelligence officers, which give you the ability to choose a die from the order pool, and you can basically give any unit on your table an order instead of having to wait for it to be pulled out. And that's a one per use game. And there's also some intelligence and reconnaissance squads as well, which have the recon ability, which allows them to see hidden enemy units 18 inches away rather than 12. We also have the armored jeep with twin bazookas, which is exactly what you would imagine it would be. In here we also have the Grenadier Radverzug squad, which is basically Germans on bicycles in the late war. Earlier on in the war we saw them, but later on we're seeing them because of fuel shortages, so interesting units there. We also have the Return to the Legends units. This is Sergeant Jose Mendoza Lopez, who's an MMG team. Basically gives you the ability to advance and still fire your MMG, but it just counts as an LMG, and you also ignore pin markers with that particular unit. So very interesting little squads there. Let's move on. Let's see what other units we can find in here. We have some theatre selectors as well. This one's for Camp Group Piper, along with some new units which are military police. Pretty much all have the same kind of options. They give you bonuses for bringing your vehicles onto the table from reserve, and also allow you to re-roll failed morale checks when basically trying to do a rally. So very interesting kind of new mechanics that we haven't seen before. They more augment your existing units as opposed to actually bringing in their own rules and special abilities. I also have another special character. This is Sturmbannführer Joachim Piper. I believe that's probably not the correct pronunciation of that, but still. This comes with both an on-foot version of the Major and also the Panther of his as well. So let's continue with the rest of the book and see what other units we can find. A little bit further in. So this here is the Chaplain. Now this is much like the MP, it more augments your existing units than actually brings to the table any strength or firepower himself. Pretty cheap as well, about 25 points for regular and then 5 points for the ranks either way, and basically allows you to, on the roll of a 4+, you can pretty much remove pin markers from a single unit within 6 inches of your Chaplain. So great for getting those units back into the fight. We also have a few more units here. The US Paratrooper Squad, which is the late war version. We've already seen this in Band of Brothers. But we also have the Team Snafu Squad, which is basically a squad that's made up of remnants of lots of other different squads, but because of their mixed fighting abilities, they have a special rule similar to Green. However, instead of starting off inexperienced and being promoted to regular, these guys start off as regular and on a small chance can be demoted to inexperienced, but can also be promoted to veteran. So really interesting little mechanic there for the squad. We have some engineer machine gunners, which allow you to get prepared positions, basically dig in before the game begins. But those are specific to some of these scenarios. We have another special character. This is Sergeant James Jake Mcniece, and he is a Pathfinder special character. You add it to the one of the Pathfinder squads that we've got listed here. You can basically augment their abilities, give them some special abilities. And we also have another special rule for the 9th Troop Carrier Command Pathfinders as well. So the next special rules that we have is for a reinforced platoon for the Panzer Brigade 150 reinforced platoon. Now this is a very unusual and different whole set of rules really, because you get the unit itself was used unconventional tactics. They dressed in enemy uniforms, they designed their tanks to look like the enemies, basically all in a way of creating deception and confusion within the enemy's ranks. And these give you lots of rules on how to recreate those. So you get some special rules for their lead squads, infiltration squads. We also have some Ursat Panther as well, which is basically a Panther designed to look like an M10 tank destroyer. We've got the model there to go with it. So really some interesting rules sorted about here. I think there's got a few more. My particular favourite from this book is the special rules for Lieutenant Ronald Speirs. Now this is a character that you may recognise from the Band of Brothers TV series, a very iconic character indeed, and has been brought to life in bolt action, so to speak. He's really got some fantastic special rules as well. On a 4+, if he dies, you roll a 4+, and then he basically gets back into the fight. It really does reflect it. He is 175 points though for a single captain, so it's definitely worth it, I think, personally, to have Ronald Speirs in your force. So continuing with the book, we get some of the intelligence sections and units for the British, and this brings us pretty much to the end of the book, in which we actually get something entirely different. So we've already seen the French army book. They have their own dedicated army book, but that's more for early war. That's not so much the stuff that they were doing later on in the war. This has been designed more for their re-involvement, their reinstating of an army towards the end of the war. It gives you a full entire listing. You get some special rules for them. You get whole new unit listings. A lot of them are based around the US because those are the guys that equipped them. We also have things like the Free French Squad, the French Resistance, sorry. We have late war Moroccan Guerriere. We have, I think we have some French SAS in there as well. Intelligence squads, medium machine gun teams, all the things you would expect to see in this book. Really is absolutely chock full of new units and new rules. So let's look at some of the new scenario-specific special rules in this book. Now right at the end of the book we have the appendix, which contains all of the special rules used for the scenarios. Now some of these have already been seen in other books, but it's really nice that these have been included in a single location, which means you don't have to keep on flicking through your other theatre books to find the rules. It also means if you don't own them, you don't also have to buy them in order to make use of them. So we have things like snow, mud, ice and frostbite, which makes perfect sense considering the time of year the Battle of Bulge took place. We've got things like frostbite as well, poor weather, including fog. We've got dug-in, foxhole trenches and gun pits, fuel shortages, chaos and reserves, lots of really great little special rules to really give some flavour to your scenarios that you're playing. We also have more fortifications such as these minefields here and mountaineer units as well. So really, overall, this is a fantastic book. Really, actually, I probably prefer it over the theatre books that have been released previously. It really is full of lots of new units, lots of new rules, and they're not just units which are pretty much the same as other units, albeit with an extra special rule here, or maybe they can take an extra LMG in the squad. These are actually interesting units such as the intelligence officers, which have special abilities to augment your forces. You've also got the chaplains, the military police as well. Really great, interesting units, and the scenarios are nice as well because they've been able to focus on a single campaign as opposed to an entire theatre. They can have a lot more of a narrative as they pass through them, rather than taking place in some cases over the entire duration of the war. In the case of Ostfront, this just focuses pretty much over the course of what is less than 6 months worth of fighting. It really is very more of kind of like a micro view rather than a macro view of a theatre book. Definitely worth picking up if you're a fan of Germans, the US, French, British, anything like that. Lots of special rules and new units in here that you can use. So I'll pop a link in the description below to take you directly to the Warlord Games webstore, and you can pick this book up for yourself. As always, let me know what you thought of this, not unboxing, but look through the campaign book, and also subscribe to be kept up to date with all my future content. So until next time, thanks for watching, and goodbye.